is too scared to ask.
OK, let me ask you a straight question, because I know you're a straight-talking politician.
Whether it's net zero, illegal immigration or law and order, nothing is off limits.
You had the power then.
Yeah, as I
and
say,
now you've lost it.
That's the Camilla Tominey Show, a politics show that's fearless.
But no, let me finish my question if you don't mind, because it is my show.
Sundays at 9:30, only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Welcome along to Patrick Christys Tonight, late edition, and we have got a GB News exclusive for you. Yes, we have obtained footage of US military in Washington, D.C. ahead of Donald Trump's patrolling of the streets. The president has been cracking down on crime himself in the Capitol. He's going out tonight to crime fight like Batman. So stay tuned for the very first images. I'm not joking, by the way, this is happening, and we are going to bring them to you. But, of course, anything can happen. I mean, he spoke earlier to troops out there, and this was his inspirational message.
One of the things we're going to be redoing is your parks. I'm very good at grass because I have a lot of golf courses all over the place. I know more about grass than any human being, I think, anywhere in the world.
I love it. I'm sorry, I love it. I think it's great. Anyway, closer to home, the Daily Mail has the first picture of a freed Lucy Connolly. Her husband has said, well done to Starmer for making it so difficult for a girl of 12. That's obviously Lucy's daughter, who hasn't seen her mum, really, free anyway, for a year. Let's all give him a pat on the back, he says. We're also going to be talking as well about the Telegraph reporting about an autumn of discontent. It strikes, just at a time when Sir Keir Starmer wants to tell you that actually everything's fine in Britain, not broken at all. The Times has got that migrant hotels are expecting a wave of protests this weekend. They think that there's roughly 26 or 27 locations where this weekend we might be seeing migrant hotel protests. It, of course, comes hot off the heels of that mega verdict in Epping. Also, we've got a bit of this, I think. Angela Rayner had a productive meeting today with Pakistan's Deputy Prime Minister, Ishaq Dar. So we asked Angela Rayner's office, that's lovely, Angela, glad you had a nice time. Did you ask him if he was going to take back any of the rape gang monsters? You won't believe her response. On my panel tonight, we have got Reform Councillor for Essex, Jamie McIver, former Labour advisor Matthew Larzer, and comedian, making his debut on my version of this show anyway, Nicholas DeSanto. Oh, and also tonight...
Eric and I killed our parents together, so I'd say that makes us pretty close.
The Menendez brothers, Eric and Lyle, who killed their parents, they're up for parole, which means they could be released for nearly the first time in nearly 30 years. A top US law expert is going to join us. Stay tuned.
Very good evening to you from the newsroom. More from Patrick shortly. First, though, an update on the top stories this hour. Well, we will start with Lucy Connolly, jailed for a post about asylum seekers on the day of the Southport murder. She has today been released from prison. The 42-year-old, whose husband is a Conservative councillor, left HMP Peterborough this morning after serving 40% of a 31-month sentence. She had admitted inciting racial hatred after calling on social media for mass deportation and violence against migrant hotels. Her case has divided opinion. Conservative leader Kemi Badenoch says her punishment was harsher than sentences for rioting, calling the law broken. Reform UK's Nigel Farage has also branded her a symbol of what he called two-tier Britain. But the Prime Minister, Sir Keir Starmer, has defended the courts, insisting free speech cannot cross into incitement of violence. Britain's third largest steelworks has collapsed into government control, throwing 1,500 jobs into jeopardy. A High Court judge ruled Speciality Steels UK hopelessly insolvent, with just £600,000 in the bank against a monthly wage bill of £3.7 million. The Rotherham and Sheffield plants will now be run by the government, while a buyer is sought. Creditors say liquidation is the only real way to start steel production again. But the company insists the move is irrational and is still hoping to buy the business back. Unions have called it another tragedy for UK steel after years of decline in the industry's heartlands. Kemi Badenoch has accused Labour of stalling progress on asylum hotels, despite the latest Home Office figures showing numbers are down from their peak. The Conservative leader says all reductions happened before last year's election, claiming that if that pace had continued, she says there would be no asylum hotels in use today. New data shows more than 32,000 asylum seekers were still housed in hotels at the end of June. That is up 8% on a year ago, but still well below the record high in 2023. The figures also reveal a record number of asylum claims, though officials say cases are being processed faster. Britain has summoned Israel's ambassador over a settlement plan condemned as a flagrant breach of international law. The UK, joined by 25 other nations, warned the West Bank move would cut across land Palestinians want for a future state and undermine any two-state solution. At the same time, Israel has called up 60,000 reservists and is preparing to expand its military operations in Gaza. Britain is also demanding Israel open Gaza to foreign journalists, saying restrictions and the high number of reporter deaths must be investigated. And campaigners are urging Parliament to ban smacking across the UK after new polling suggests young adults are turning against it. Scotland outlawed smacking in 2020, followed by Wales in 2022, but in England and Northern Ireland, parents can still claim reasonable punishment as a defence if they hit their child. Doctors and psychiatrists say the research is clear, though. Physical punishment, they say, can cause long-term harm. And they're calling on MPs to follow Scotland and Wales and make smacking illegal everywhere. That's it from me for tonight and for this week. Yes, I'll see you soon.
All right, welcome along to Late Edition. Lot to go at this evening. We will bring you now Friday's newspaper front pages, starting with The Telegraph. Britain facing an autumn of discontent. It strikes. Their picture story there is Queen Camilla at York races. The Guardian have gone for revealed 83% of Gaza war dead are civilians. That's according, they say, to Israeli data. They've also got a story there about how Moscow's dealing a blow to the Ukraine peace talks, presumably by just not doing it. And refugee groups face far-right threats. So there's groups that half of NGOs and charities are saying that they've faced a hostile environment. They've installed safe rooms. Well, look, if it's true, I feel for them, but my sympathy is limited, given that they have, in my view, a lot of them been helping to facilitate the invasion of Britain for the last 10 or so years. The Times newspaper, hotels for migrants face a wave of protest. This is the development. There's something like 26 locations that are up for protest this weekend. The Daily Mail, all-time high for asylum claims, but I think the one that intrigues me is they've got an exclusive of Lucy Connolly, but they've also said that on pages, I think it's 4 to 7, they've got the inside story of Lucy Connolly's life in prison. We're working to try to get the inside stories. Obviously, as you can imagine, the front pages land first, and then we can normally, through a little bit of deviousness, try to get you a bit of what's inside there as well. So we've got some people pulling a few strings outside, and hopefully we can get you that inside story, because I think that will be quite a big one, really. The Daily Express, weak Labour's day of shame on migrant figures. Yep, there you go. The Mirror, Strictly has been rocked already. Strictly Come Dancing has apparently been rocked already. So there we go. Let's have a little look at this for you. Christian Nairn has quit Strictly a week into rehearsals due to health struggles. A couple of points here. Who is Christian Nairn?
Apparently he's a Game of Thrones star, but I'd never heard of him.
Anyone heard of him?
I'm not a GOT fan, but I mean, for once, the story coming out of Strictly is not about infidelity. So obviously we wish him well. We wish him well, but yeah.
The big story is this right-wing influencer who is on Strictly. You know,
Tom Skinner?
Tom Skinner.
Oh, right-wing
because he waved an England flag.
Oh.
Because he waved an England flag.
Anyway, we'll crack on. Son,
the son.
Mum's home. This is Lucy Connolly arriving home. And, of course, her daughter's 12 years old. I think it was 11 when she went into prison. I've basically not seen her for a year. The Independent, Migration UK, how the numbers really add up. I think they're trying to palm it off as not as bad as everyone thinks, despite it being worse. Anyway, the iPaper, Starmer faces growing unrest over record asylum claims, and the Metro 111,000 record asylum seekers. Right, there we go. Well, we are joined, of course, by Reform Councillor for Essex, Jamie McIver, former Labour advisor Matthew Larser, and comedian Nicholas DeSanto. Can we start with the Lucy Connolly story? Can we bring up the front page of the Daily Mail? So Lucy Connolly is out now, as she's freed after 377 days in jail for tweeting about the Southport attack. The inside story of Lucy Connolly's prison torment, and we are, like I said, working to get you pages 4 and 7 inside. But in your view, Nicholas, should she have gone to prison, do you think?
Absolutely not. I think this is the government is lucky because the timing worked out, and this happened. The release happened before Trump's visit next month. Otherwise, can you imagine if J.D. Vance had gone on their case again? And you know, a few months ago, when Biden was still in power, and he pardoned his son and his whole family, not just for the past crimes, but even for the future crimes. There was a session at the United Nations Security Council, and the Russian ambassador was kind of being lectured by the West, so he went heavy and hard. He had a field day with the U.S. ambassador. The only criminal government is your president who was just pardoned. Can you imagine next time the British government is lecturing the countries like Iran or Eritrea or Iraq on human rights and free speech, they're going to make kebab out of them in the UN Security, in the UN Council of Human Rights, because we have jailed someone for free speech.
Yeah, I mean...
For inciting violence is what she's been jailed for.
I mean, English is not my first language, but when you say...
Burning down, she called for hotels to be burned down.
It's not an order. If I say, you know, this car is rubbish, just throw it inside the valley for all I care, it means I just don't care. It's not even incitement. And then the irony that criminals who were convicted for the grooming gang scandal got in some cases less punishment.
Well, not just them. I mean, the grooming gangs is obviously about as bad as it gets. But I mean, terrorists, paedophiles, murderers, rapists. I mean, it's
almost as if we have two-tier justice.
Almost, but of course you can't go around saying things like that, mate. You know, you can't go. But
I'll have you jailed next, Christys.
Yeah. Well, I do wonder actually whether it was a matter of time.
I'll speak up for you.
Well, I'd have to be cheers, man. I'd have to be kept in solitary, wouldn't I? Because of some of the other people in prison. Anyway, the picture exclusive there on the. She looks happy, which is nice. I'm not surprised, Jamie.
Do you know, I felt a little bit emotional looking at it because we've all been talking about Lucy, lots of us have all been talking about Lucy, but you just can't help but think for her children at mum's home. You know, I must admit, as a child, I used to hate it when my mum was out of her friends for a night, frankly. Still don't really like it, if I'm honest. I worry about her now because we're in an unsafe, lawless country. But, you know, how wonderful for her children. Mummy's home tonight. Mummy's staying at home tonight. And she looks, I think, quite relieved. But I can see...
Perhaps Mummy shouldn't have called for migrant hostels to be burned down, Jamie.
Perhaps the people that gave her legal advice should have done a better job.
She can sue them.
Perhaps the Prime Minister... Isn't it funny? You can't talk about cases because of contempt of court. But no, if you're Prime Minister...
He didn't talk about a case.
Within a week.
He talked about the principles of it.
There was pressure on the legal system to lock people up and make...
She is rightly a convicted criminal for something she should not have done, and she's been. And I think it's outrageous she's been treated as some sort of heroine and saint. But I'm very pleased to know that apparently she's looking forward to a large glass of Whispering Angel, her favourite wine, to celebrate her release.
Yeah, well, quite. I mean, the other line that's come out.
That's inside the mouse.
The other line that's come out of this is that her husband has stuck the boot into Sir Keir Starmer and said, "Yeah, I hope he's very, very happy that he's taken a mum away from his 12-year-old daughter." I mean, they are not dropping.
He's a Tory councillor.
I get that, fine, but they are not dropping this, are they? I mean, they are going to become a massive, massive thorn in Sir Keir Starmer's side.
She can pick a swing council or a constituency and she can win it. She can sweep the board. And by the way, just to build on what Jamie was saying, perhaps the government who started the administration by releasing criminals into the streets with the excuse of we don't have enough room in our prisons, maybe they could have considered her for an early release.
She got one. She only served 40% of her sentence.
Yeah, but she would have.
Which is what the early release. She was treated like everybody else. She's no martyr.
She wasn't treated like everybody else. No, she wasn't treated like everybody else. You've got to remember that. The Prime Minister was calling for people like her to be locked away swiftly.
He did not say that. He did not say that, Jamie. That's literally not true. He called for people. He made a general point.
Within a week.
He made a general point about about substantial sentences for people who were right. It's nothing to do with people like her. He didn't mention tweeds. Well, it's literally fiction.
More to the point, they were absolutely delighted with the fact
she's a convicted criminal, rightly so.
Not everybody.
She says she got badly legal
a
advice, she
Labour
shouldn't have pled guilty.
councillor who threatened to cut people's throats.
And if he was convicted, he should go to jail and be treated like everybody else. It's a legal system, British justice, that I believe in. Clearly, Reform doesn't believe in Britain because all Reform does is spend its time slagging Britain off.
No, we
even
don't.
when you're
Yes, you do. You tore Britain down.
Because the Labour government is destroying...
Oh, come off it, Jamie. It's just about talking Britain down for political purposes.
I
believe in this country.
We're the only
went
country that's proud to fly the flags. You like to fly the Pride flag and the Palestine flags. We like to fly England and the United Kingdom.
Next time you have a look at Downing Street, you'll see quite how many flags there are, and the Prime Minister's never does an interview.
Ukraine.
Well, yeah, actually, you know what? Yeah, because unlike Nigel Farage, the Putin apologist, see, it all comes out now, doesn't it?
We like to fly our flag of our country.
Yeah, OK, good. So you sell Ukraine down, you sell democracy in Ukraine down the river for Nigel's mate...
Flag makes no difference. For
Nigel's mate, Vladimir. I mean, you know, we'll be seeing it pop up in...
Just have interest.
Yeah.
Is there actually, if we're doing facts, is there any evidence that Nigel Farage is friends with Putin?
Well, he's not. I mean, he made support. He's made endless supportive comments.
Well, like what?
Because he said very clearly, he said that he admired him and he thought he was a great politician.
But he said he didn't actually like any of his policies or anything like that.
Well, he said that afterwards when he was challenged by it. Saying that you admire somebody like Vladimir Putin means Nigel Farage is not fit to be Prime Minister, but we know that anyway.
All right, OK. I think being able to
British people have a different view.
I mean, Jeremy Corbyn did say that he was, I think...
Let's wait and see, Jamie. You might find it harder than you think.
May 2025.
Oh, all right, let's just deal with let's drag it back to the Lucy Connolly issue, because what we've got here is a lady who's clearly... The pictures that are in the Daily Mail tomorrow, and we've got, I think, the Sun front page as well. It's on the front of the Sun front page. She's gone out, she's known that there's a bank of reporters right outside her house, and she's gone out to walk the dogs. She's not sitting inside cowering for anything, is she?
Because she sold the Pat brides.
She's well, whether she wanted it or not, she's become a symbol of the dual standard, hypocrisy, and two-tier justice. Of course, she was.
So you think it's OK? People shouldn't go to jail if they call for migrant hotels to be burnt down. You think that's OK, my friend?
She was.
Now answer my question, please.
No,
do you?
I just said that. she wasn't inciting.
Yes, she did.
For all I care.
She did under British law.
It doesn't matter. They violated.
So you all think it's OK to call for people to be burnt to death?
Hang on a minute. Should you then go to prison for urging people to cut their throats?
Well, if he'd been convicted, I mean, if I'd been on the jury and I'd heard the evidence, from what I've sounded, it sounded like what he said was wrong. But I'm not on the jury.
I get that.
Yeah, I'm not on the jury. I'm not a judge and I'm not a jury.
The reason there wasn't a jury case in this was because
she should have had a jury
trial. She got the advice to plead guilty when she shouldn't have done, and she was put under a lot of pressure to do that. And so
we don't know she's put under a lot of pressure.
She's come out and said she was.
Of course she has, because
she was denied bail.
Why did her and her husband not take any responsibility for it?
Was she?
Her husband should be thrown out of the Tory party. Her husband should be thrown out of the Tory party, but it's double the Tory party.
Why should her husband be thrown out?
For these comments that he's making supporting her, he should be hanging his head in shame.
The leader of the Tory party supports his comments.
She quite obviously arranged for the Paps to be outside while she walked her dog, and no, actually be selling her story for a large amount of cash.
Sorry, can I just say, I think that's just untrue, right?
We don't know it's untrue.
Well, I think it's probably untrue, because if everyone knew...
she's got a PR.
Everyone that knew that she was coming out today, she'd have to pay the paparazzi to turn up outside Lucy Connolly's front door for him.
No, but you see, I bet...
It would all be there.
If we don't see her selling her story in the next couple of days, I will be amazed.
Do you know, I hope she does sell a story. I hope she does sell a story.
And I hope she gives money to anti-arson charities.
I hope she sells a story, and I hope she takes her children on the best holiday ever.
You think she should be proud, Jamie? You think she should be proud of calling for migrant hustles? She should hang her head in shame.
She shouldn't be proud of that tweet, but she deleted it within 3 hours and apologised. That's
she still did it.
Most Labour councillors.
She still did it.
She
still. Don't lecture me about about councillors. You had your big local election victory. We've seen another deputy leader go today, because it's where Reform get into power. It's chaos.
It's not chaos. They're actually doing an amazing job.
Brilliant. So the 21-year-old who was the deputy leader in Leicestershire has gone in the last few days because he's had a row with the leader. The deputy leader in another county has gone today because he's had a row with the leader. Because you guys don't know what you're doing, and the British people are going to find you out.
Factually wrong, and I will just correct for the record. I was with both those people this week, and there is nothing wrong.
OK, so...
you like to say it's chaos.
After 3 months... Of course you can.
Have you seen the government of the United Kingdom?
Yes, I have.
If the government of the United Kingdom could do half of what a Reform Council's doing at the moment, we would solve a lot of problems.
Take a pride flag down and put an 18-year-old in charge? Come off it, Jamie. It's a joke. Reforming government is a joke.
Honour your promises to the electorate like Reform.
Yeah, you try it and stop having chaos in your councils.
On that note, we're probably going to just talk quickly about an all-time high for asylum claims. So what do you make of that?
Well, Labour Party opened the floodgates with Tony Blair admittedly and openly said they wanted to stick it to the Tories. So is it surprising that figures are soaring under Labour Party? And of course, we have these fast and loose criteria for humanitarian and asylum. So every Tom, Dick and Harry...
Well, they're actually deporting fewer Channel migrants. This is a new stat that I'd not seen before. There's been a 7% drop in deported Channel migrants, which is remarkable considering we've seen about a 40 or 50% increase in Channel migrants.
You know, I was watching the show before I came on, and Matthew was talking about Eritrea and how on earth are we going to send people back to Eritrea. But have you not seen what they're doing in the United States? We don't have to reinvent the wheel. How can Trump deport plane load after plane load, and we cannot use some leverage against Eritrea? And by the way, most of them are not from Eritrea. By comparison, Eritrea has a small population. And interesting, the boat migrants or the boat asylum seekers amount only to 30% of the whole asylum application. Most of them are student visas or tourist visas. We hold Commonwealth Games and some of them stay here.
Yeah, it's ridiculous, yeah.
So it's not about even the migrants coming off the boat, but there's no will to do anything about it.
Jamie, there is a solution, isn't there, which is that all of these Refugees Welcome Brigade or everyone that thinks that they're open borders fanatics, etc., should just now open up their homes.
Absolutely, send them to Brighton. Send them to places where they've got green people that are, and Labour areas too, like London, where Sadiq Khan's giving it large. You know, they're welcome here, they're welcome here. At the end of the day, we are a democracy. Bits of this country, whether that be Kent, Lancashire, they voted not to have this happening. If we're a democracy...
They didn't vote reform in the general election, did they, Jamie? You've got how many MPs is it? Oh, they keep resigning, so it's very hard to keep track of it. Which one's in? Which one's gone? Low's gone? The one in Essex has gone? Oh, I forget to keep up with your parliamentary party.
I know you've got a difficult job, but let's...
No, it's a very easy job, Jamie. Yeah, let's stick... Sorry, Jamie, how many Reform MPs were elected last year, and how many of them are still in your parliamentary party?
May 2025.
May 2020, July 20...
Reform politicians elected.
OK. In July 2024, Jamie, how many MPs were elected for Reform?
Are you slightly trying to deflect from the fact that...
I'm not, but it's just this Reform... No, what I'm doing, Patrick, is I'm not taking nonsense from Reform, who half their parliament, or 40% of their parliamentary party, are no longer in it because they fight like rabbits in a sack. Can you imagine what it would be like having this lot running Britain? It would be complete chaos.
Sure, that's the phrase. Reform get a word in edge.
40%. You won't answer the question, Jamie. How many of your MPs elected in July last year are still Reform MPs? What percentage?
We've got 4 members of Parliament and they're doing
how many of those were elected?
They're doing better than...
So, of the 5 MPs elected, 40% are no longer in the party.
Hang on, if we're doing this, let's just have it right, because Reform actually won a seat where a Labour MP narrowly avoided jail for battering...
Absolutely.
Whilst office...
Yeah, absolutely. And of the MPs elected last year, 40% are no longer Reform MPs.
17th safest seat in the country.
All right, fair enough. Well, anyway, look, the jury's out on what on earth we do with all these illegal migrants that are no longer going to be allowed to live in hotels. However, someone mentioned Trump earlier on as a way of solving the illegal migrant crisis. Talk of the devil, we're going to cross to Washington, D.C. Why? Well, we've managed to get you some exclusive footage of President Trump patrolling the streets as part of a migrant crackdown. You won't see Sadiq Khan doing that, will you? Couldn't possibly stop and search someone. But there's currently, as well, apparently, an active shooter in America at Villanova University, which has been placed into lockdown. This is a live breaking event. We're going to cross you over to the States and get you the very latest. Stay tuned.
Westminster's full of talk, but out here, it's the real world. Am I allowed to talk now? No, that's it. This is where it matters, real people and real lives. That's what politics is all about.
In fact, has Trump made a good start? No.
Straight answers, no spin, and just a couple of pints.
How many fingers have I got up?
About 10. So join me for Lee Anderson's Real World every Friday at 7 p.m. only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Martin Daubney, weekdays from 3 p.m.
Thank you, Sam. Now from one Iceman to another, because British ultramarathon swimmer Ross Edgley is currently undertaking an astonishing 1,000-mile swim around Iceland after being inspired by the Thor character and the actor Chris Hemsworth. Well, this challenge, described as the Great Icelandic Swim, is expected to take about 3 months. And it's seen Ross swim already for 6 hours and then rest for 6 hours in a continuous cycle of torture. Now, along the way, he has faced challenging conditions, including rough waters, killer whales and freezing temperatures. I'm delighted to say I'm now joined by the Iceman, the British Thor, Ross Edgley, live from Iceland. Ross, it's an absolute delight to have you, and I'm just delighted to get a connection to Iceland. Sometimes we struggle to get people here in London. Listen, mate, you sound like an absolute man-mountain. What on earth drove you towards this epic challenge?
Oh, thanks, Martin. Yeah, it was, like I said, I was joking with Chris because I just love Icelandic folklore, the sagas, mythology. And we just said, look, swimming around Iceland, it would be the closest thing to Asgard that you could possibly do. So it was kind of, it started as a semi-joke. And then 3 months later, here we are, 800 miles in, lost parts of my tongue, a lot of chafing around my shoulders and stuff. But we're still going, 200 miles left, home straight is in sight.
So we're doing it for charity? What's behind it?
It's exactly that, Martin. Yeah, so all the way we're going around, we're working with scientists to collect eDNA samples, so they're environmental DNA samples. So it just means that anything in the water, whether it's a minke whale, an orca, a Ross Edgley, anything, it leaves behind a sample. And so by collecting all of these samples, what we're going to be left with is this incredible map of biodiversity around Iceland in a level of detail we've never seen before. So what's amazing, scientists said, look, if someone is crazy enough to try and swim around it, this could be really valuable for us.
GB News.
You want to know what's really going on in the corridors of power? Labour don't know what to do with you half the time, and that makes you quite lethal in the chamber. Get behind the headlines with Chopper's Political Podcast. Join me, Christopher Hope, as I sit down with the great and the good of British politics. We'll see where this ruling takes us. These are the stories shaping our nation. Chopper's Political Podcast, available now on all platforms. Listen in and stay ahead.
Welcome back to Patrick Christys Tonight, late edition. I've got a couple of big stories coming out of the United States for you, actually. So, firstly, President Trump is currently patrolling Washington, D.C. as part of his crime crackdown. He is, as we speak, joining with the police and the National Guard. GB News has obtained images of preparations for that. There is another story, though, that we are going to bring you, which is an active shooter report on the campus of Villanova University. This is in Pennsylvania. There's slightly contradictory reports coming out there because police are responding to a report of an active shooter at Villanova University in Pennsylvania. There was no victims reported as yet, and apparently the principal of that university has come out and said that it was a cruel hoax. So we're looking at a huge police response there at Villanova University. Of course, look, I mean, in America, it does seem, unfortunately, like they have some kind of mass shooting pretty much every week. You've got pictures and videos coming out of students cowering behind walls and running for their lives in deep fear. And yeah, apparently it may have been a hoax, according to the principal there. Police have surged into the university's campus. Northwest Philadelphia, frightened students sheltered in place. I mean, I'll be honest with you, yeah, it just seemed like this has been a hoax. Students were told to barricade themselves in their dorm rooms and classrooms on Thursday. Yeah, I mean, it's good news, by the way, if it's a hoax, to be fair.
I mean, better a cruel hoax, although this is very irresponsible behavior, but better a cruel hoax than an actual shooting.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, gosh, you always feel the worst, don't you? Well, I suppose that does allow us now to actually return to the thing that is not a hoax, which is that President Trump is currently doing somewhat of a Batman impression by going out and helping to fight crime. I quite like this. We've got Hillary Fordwick here, who's a US political commentator in Washington, D.C. Watch it. Is Trump near you? Is he near you in the Batmobile? How's it all going? What's going on?
Well, actually, Patrick, pleasure to be with you. I'm actually in the Willard Hotel. Sorry, I'm in the business center, hence the chair, but I'm 1 block from the White House down here for meetings. So I'm going to be very interested when I drive out of here if I actually do see him. But I actually think this is fabulous. There's nothing better, you know, in military situations, you want your general right out front there. And as we know, you know, Winston Churchill, they had to pull him down from the rooftops in London, right? He wanted to get right in the thick of it. I think this sets a good example. And I will quote, actually, the former DC police chief, Patrick, he's Stephen Sund, and he said, you know, that this has actually cracked down amazingly. Last year, in 2024, there were 497 carjackings. Last week, the week before they started this, there were 3. This week, there was only 1. Pam Bondi has come out and said that there have been already 630 arrests and 87 illegal guns removed off the streets. So far, Patrick, they've also cleared 25 homeless shelters. So I think it's working. And what I would say to all those protesters, you look at the protesters, it's very interesting, Patrick. The actual demographics of Washington, D.C., it's 53% is Black and Hispanic. 99% of those protesters are elderly white people, so they don't really live in D.C. When people get older in D.C., they tend to move away. They tend to go to somewhere like Florida, non-tax states, somewhere else. That isn't the population here, so they're being bussed in or shipped in to come and protest. And last but not least, you know what I would do to all those protesters? I just rip away their handbags and say, well, you think the crime is good, we'll take your handbag, we'll take what's in your handbag.
It's the Route 1 approach, that, I think. So what are we expecting President Trump to be doing here? I mean, I was thinking he was going on some kind of ride-along, really. And also, as well, you know, compare and contrast to what we're seeing here in Britain, especially in our capital, but right across the country. It's not just all about London, but you've got, you know, massive amounts of phone theft. I think we are responsible for something like 40% of all of Europe's phone thefts happen in Britain. Then we've got huge levels of sexual assault and violence, huge levels of knife crime, huge levels of shoplifting. And the latest line from our government at the moment appears to be bury your head in the sand, everything's absolutely fine. Whereas President Trump is admitting that there's a problem and trying to do something about it, isn't he?
Well, he is, and I will say something about the UK, Patrick. When I was just there 2 weeks ago and I was live in the GBNews studios, I hadn't been in London for a few months, or a year, maybe over a year. I was actually shocked. The amount of shops, and I wasn't in London much of the time, but in different cities, I was shocked at the number of security type looking personnel walking around and you being greeted when you went into a shop, the kind of security that I don't ever remember in England, certainly not when I was growing up and I lived there. So obviously the country's had to change dramatically to address that sort of crime. And now to the beginning of your question as to what exactly is President Trump doing? Well, I don't know exactly, but what I've heard and people are talking about in general is, you know, he's there to rally the troops. He's there to encourage them. He's there to support them. Yesterday, Vice President Vance and Pete Hegseth, they both went down to Union Station. Now, that's our big station here. That would be the equivalent in England and London to Waterloo, Paddington, any of the big stations. The crime there, Patrick, I've taken the train there many times up to New York City. You take the faster Acela. Unless you're in the business lounge in that station, I can tell you as a young businesswoman walking through the station, it's ghastly. I mean, you get these homeless people literally coming up in your face and screaming and doing all things. It's sad.
Well, we appear to be going the other way, sadly, here. I mean, we're seeing now more and more how they've decriminalised rough sleeping for a start, so that doesn't help. But then, yeah, we seem to be turning into a much more dangerous country. Look, thank you so much, Hillary. Always a pleasure. And I hope to speak to you again very soon. Hillary Fordridge, US political commentator who is in Washington, D.C. for us. Jamie, is that the kind of stuff you want to see our political leaders doing? Instead of maybe ignoring a problem, actually going after it and putting themselves on the ground?
Well, you do. And also, you kind of want the leader of your country to be taken seriously, whatever they turn their hand to. And I mean, I saw a clip of Starmer today of half an army uniform on. I just got the giggles. And isn't it awful when the leader of your country is like that? With Trump, he's serious, he means business, he's respected by his people. They love him. They love him. And, you know, they love him because he's doing all the right things. In this country at the moment, we have a lawless country. We're seeing that every single day. We've got countries in chaos when it comes to law and order.
Not true.
We've got no control of our borders. And then you go over the pond, you've got a country that's taking crime really seriously, and they are deporting people and have stopped all illegal
They love the Donald in D.C. Do you know what percentage he got of the vote in D.C. in the presidential election?
Oh, go on.
6.47.
There you go. Well, they lost, didn't they?
And then the entire country.
But, I mean, in DC, we're talking about DC.
You know,
this is clearly
Britain accounts for 40% of all phone thefts in Europe. It's not all right, is it?
No, it's not all right. Nobody's saying it. Nobody's saying it's all right.
It's all right. I get that it might not be you personally, but now there's a lot of people like Lewis Goodall or Fraser Nelson who are coming out and are saying, actually, everything's fine. Well, it's not all right.
There's an issue around phone thefts, but crime is not spiralling in Britain.
No, do you know what? It is spiralling.
There's an issue on shoplifting and phone thefts, which have gone through the roof, and both need to be tackled.
Do you know, I see this day in, day out.
Like a rape every hour in London.
People aren't reporting crime anymore, and this is one of the biggest problems this country's got. People are actually not reporting crime.
So what would you do, Jamie?
Because the police don't show up. Because they're closing all the police stations for a start, so I would make sure police stations were open.
Where's the money coming from?
But, well, what could be more important, Matthew?
No, I agree. Absolutely. But you tell me where the money's coming from, Jamie.
Look at Sadiq Khan.
Oh, it's on Nigel's money tree.
All the money to introduce ULEZ, but he's going to shut half of his police stations in London, and he's done an.
Yeah, I mean those figures don't add up. Like all figures from before.
Well, there you go. What do you make of this? So that compare and contrast. So we've just had the breaking news this evening that Britain is now responsible for 40% of all phone thefts in Europe. Meanwhile, President Trump out and about.
The contrast couldn't be more depressing, right? Because he has cleared up the southern border. Then he did this press conference in the White House, packed. The reporters had to wait outside, and he said, we are going to go in D.C., because the D.C. for decades has been a feud of the Democrats, bureaucrats, and people who has become one of those safe or sanctuary cities. I've been to the D.C. It was terrible. And he said, now we are going to remove the homeless as well. We're going to take our capital back. And did you notice, as soon as he said homeless or homeless-looking people will be removed, Zelensky suited up. But you know, in UK crime is, I've lived in London for 15 years. It's unreported or underreported because the police don't show up. So maybe we come, maybe we don't come. You know, if it's odd number, maybe we show up, or if it's even number, we don't. So no surprise there. And we also, London under Sadiq Khan surpassed New York's murder, and we don't have guns.
Yeah, I mean, that is mental, actually, when you think about it. OK, all right, look, loads more to get stuck into on Friday's front pages. There appears to be a new Strictly Come Dancing scandal already, and I don't think it's even started yet, so they're off to a flyer. The Daily Telegraph are talking about an autumn of discontent because of strikes. Angela Rayner's wine on a beach makes the front of the Times. But there's another Angela Rayner story in town. She had a productive meeting today with Pakistan's Deputy Prime Minister, Ishaq Dar, to talk about how we can further strengthen UK-Pakistan ties. I asked her office directly whether or not she asked him if Pakistan would take back any of their rape gangs. Her response will be next. Stay tuned.
Good evening. I'm here with your GB News weather update from the Met Office. Now, as we go through the next 24 hours, it's a case of chasing the cloud, because where it clears overnight, it's going to turn a little chilly, and where it clears tomorrow, it's going to be quite warm in the sunshine. Currently, there is high pressure of sorts to the west of the UK. This is keeping things pretty settled. It has also brought that northerly flow down the North Sea, which has led to a bit of a chilly feel around eastern parts through today. And it's also leading to a fair bit of cloud across central and eastern parts overnight, albeit parts of East Anglia, maybe Kent, having some clear skies. Also clear skies for western parts of Scotland, Wales, maybe southwest England. And under these clear skies, temperatures could drop in rural spots to low single figures, but most places under the cloud holding up in double digits, and some milder, cloudier, perhaps even damper weather pushing across Northern Ireland later on in the night. Starting off tomorrow morning, where we get the clear skies overnight, there could be some mist and fog patches first thing, but these will quite quickly clear. Otherwise, it's a bright start for some, but quite cloudy in a few other places. Cloudy across Northern Ireland, much of Northern England, and across central and eastern parts of Scotland, quite a cloudy start. A bit brighter towards western parts of Scotland, albeit with a few showery outbreaks around the Western Isles, perhaps. Then, as we go through tomorrow, I'm expecting some of the cloud to break up. So most of us should see some bright, if not sunny spells developing. Not everywhere, though. Cloud staying quite persistent across parts of Northern Ireland and down the eastern side of Northern England, and perhaps eastern parts of Scotland too. Where the cloud does clear, though, temperatures should rise relatively nicely. We're looking at highs around 23, possibly 24 Celsius, so feeling warm, perhaps a bit warmer than today. Then, as we go into Saturday and the start of the long bank holiday weekend, there could be a few showery bursts, particularly across some western parts, but most places staying dry, and there will be some decent sunny breaks on offer as well. Perhaps more sunshine developing as we go through Sunday and into Monday, and with that, temperatures rising as well. Whatever you're up to, have a lovely evening.
Good Afternoon Britain isn't just about us. The wonderful thing about this programme is it's about everyone watching. It's an interactive programme.
Well, there absolutely is something to see here, and we're going to be talking about it more. Whether it's breaking royal news, please bring us up to date, or indeed a particularly punchy speech in the House of Commons.
Very, very curious.
We bring it to you live, and then we bring you live reaction as well.
That's Good Afternoon Britain, weekdays from midday.
Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Hi, I'm Michelle Dewberry, and my show is your opportunity to cut through all the noise and dive in headfirst to some robust debates. Ideas clash.
Situation,
No,
Because the failure is...
You're deliberately avoiding my point. Nothing's held back,
And if you think this is the end of it, wait for more.
and we do not shy away from the difficult stuff.
Sometimes I want to shake people and say, if only you understood.
So join me on Jubes & Co. weeknights at 6 p.m, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
OK, welcome back. Well, there's lots on Friday's front pages. We're just going to show you the front of the Daily Telegraph tomorrow because they are predicting an autumn of discontent, they say. Thank you, Matthew. There's going to be walkouts by Tube staff over pay and terms, to be followed by GPs, nurses and resident doctors. We are apparently going to be set for months of these issues, and Sir Keir Starmer, of course, had hoped to keep unions on side by handing out 10 billion quid's worth of backdated public sector pay rises, and just talking a little bit like what we were saying before about, you know, is Britain broken? Is Britain not broken? Are people talking it down? Are people not being positive enough? Well, Keir Starmer's about to try to launch a big thing, apparently, to say that Britain's actually fine or good and it's on the mend, and then he's going to be clobbered with a load of strikes by the looks of things.
Well, if they lose the unions, things have really got bad, because as far as I understand, one of the only or few promises Labour fulfilled was pouring money into the unions and raising public sector salaries. Maybe not to the extent they would have wanted, but they did that. And by the way, speaking of fulfilled or unfulfilled promises and the Labour situation, I want to point out that the tiny Matt cartoon, the always great Matt says, oh, yes. Rachel, at the bottom, there's a schoolboy who has come home and has a report or a letter. I think it says, Rachel Reeves is putting a tax on GCSE passes. You owe HMRC £8,207.
Yeah, it's good, but this is it.
What a good idea.
Yeah, this is it, isn't it? So the detail on this then, so specifically when it comes to the RMT union, so they do include tube drivers who can be on upwards of £70,000 a year. You actually, Matthew, were looking at some of the detail on this. It looks like they're striking to get, what is it, half
an hour off the working week.
Half an hour off the working week.
From 35 hours, which is the standard working week, down to 34 and a half, which is just ludicrous. And the government is standing firm with the resident doctors. I nearly called them junior doctors. I'd have got into trouble. And now it needs to stand firm. For you. Absolutely. And it needs to stand firm with the RMT, who are taking the you-know-what.
Yeah. I mean, they are, but isn't this what happens? I mean, you know, Labour dished it out at the start.
Well, I think the mayor has...
A load of Labour members... I'm sorry, but a load of Labour MPs are probably affiliated with some...
Well, the RMT is now technically not an affiliate, although some will be supportive if they do go on strike.
Well, will the RMT have supported any of their campaigns? You see, this is the thing, you know...
Mostly Zara and Jezza.
Some people did receive funding, not necessarily from the RMT, but definitely they did, but, I mean, from other unions as well. And
Yeah,
now
we're proud of our union links.
Well, but are you? Because now the unions are crippling Britain.
Well, I mean, certain unions are... I mean, the junior doctors, the BMA, obviously doesn't even think of itself as a union, and it certainly has nothing to do with the Labour Party. The RMT gave up on the Labour Party about 15 years ago in the old Bob Crow era, but the government needs to stand firm and the national interest is there, which is why it's saying to the resident doctors, we gave you a decent pay settlement last year, you can't come back, for more.
I actually do wonder, aside from the fact that this is going to be awful for commuters, they think it might cost about 14 million quid a day, these strikes. It's going to be awful for people who need to get a GP appointment or nurses, etc. So I do understand all of that. However, I do wonder if in the long run this is actually a good thing, because before it was always seen as, well, it's because of the Tories that everyone's striking. Well, now it turns out they'll just flipping do it anyway.
Well, I think what it just proves is how unreasonable the unions are. I can't bear them. I think they just everything they do to this country, they don't care about ordinary people. You know, people don't go to... By the way, years ago you might go to the GP over something minor. Now you literally go to the GP if your arm's hanging off because it's so impossible, certainly where I live in Essex. And so the fact that those people are not going to get access to that primary health care, the amount of misdiagnoses there are. We all know somebody that might have caught something too late and everyone's done what they can. We all have those awful emotional links. And the fact that you go into a medical profession, you know what the pay is when you join that profession. You know what the standards are like. You do your training in a lot of these places. To then use your position as a member of that union and actually encourage strike action. I think it's so disappointing. But the problem is the unions bully people into striking. That's ultimately right. You want to be promoted, you better make sure you're striking. That is the problem.
OK, all right. Well, look, I'm just going to bring this to your attention. So, Angela Rayner, she's always a big story, isn't she? The UK has signed a new deal with Iraq to speed up the return of migrants who have no right to stay in Britain. But Deputy Prime Minister Angela Rayner also tweeted about having a productive meeting on Tuesday with Pakistan's Deputy Prime Minister Ishaq Dar to talk about further strengthening UK-Pakistan ties. So she was showing off about this. She said it's a great thing, wonderful stuff. But then I thought, well, hang on a minute, Angela. This would have been the perfect opportunity, would it not, to have raised the issue of the fact that we can't hand over the Pakistani rape gang monsters, some of whom have conveniently shredded their Pakistani passports and declared that they are now British. So we went to her office and we said, whilst you were there, physically in the room with Pakistan's Deputy Prime Minister, did you raise the issue of grooming gang members with him? They said the Deputy Prime Minister met with Pakistan's Deputy Prime Minister to discuss how we can further strengthen UK-Pakistan ties. We'll always do everything in our power to ensure that foreign nationals who commit heinous crimes in the UK are not left free on our streets, including seeking their deportation from the UK. The UK and Pakistan continue to work in partnership on shared migration and returns priorities. It's not a yes, is it?
No.
Well, I think
very much two ways of reading.
I thought the statement was going to be a lot sort of weaker than that. I mean, we need to use all the leverage we have with Pakistan to not just take back dual citizens who've been convicted of grooming gang crimes, but also to take back people who are claiming asylum.
But again, it's like we asked them a perfectly straight question. Did she, in that room, ask about the Pakistani rape gangs? And why can't you just say yes or no?
Have you ever met a government press officer?
We have a establishment that has covered up for the Pakistani grooming gangs and then jailed people for tweets and kept them until the very last possible day. And now they're openly removing England flags from England. Some people say it's as if the establishment hates native Brits. I don't buy it.
Oh, wow. Well, there we go. We'll see. All right, look, loads more coming up. In the final section, something a little bit different for you. We've got a bit of this.
Eric and I killed our parents together, so I'd say that makes us pretty close.
Well, yes, the parent-murdering Menendez brothers all were there. Anyway, they're guilty. They could be released after 30 years. Stay tuned.
I forecast a perfect holiday in the sun.
Weather looking good then?
For sure, and no worries about our travel insurance.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GBNews Travel Destinations Forecast.
Hot and sunny conditions continue across much of Spain and Portugal. A few heavy showers likely in Croatia. A fairly brisk wind blowing in Sardinia, quite breezy too in southern parts of Portugal. But most of Spain and Portugal dry, fine and sunny. Just a small chance of a shower in Ibiza. Much greater chance of seeing some heavy showers across Croatia. Fine and sunny for most of the Greek islands and Turkey. That will continue through the weekend as well. Goodbye.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GBNews Travel Destinations Forecast.
This is Britain's Newsroom, where your voice matters.
It's just astonishing. With expert analysis and honest opinion, we don't just keep you informed.
We bring you unique perspectives you won't see anywhere else.
Can't argue with any of that. When the news happens, it happens here.
On Britain's Newsroom, weekdays from 9:30 a.m.
Only on GB News.
Westminster's full of talk, but out here, it's the real world. Am I allowed to talk now? No, that's it. This is where it matters. Real people and real lives. That's what politics is all about.
The fact is Trump made a good start. No.
Straight answers, no spin, and just a couple of pints.
How many fingers have I got up?
About 10. So join me for Lee Anderson's Real World every Friday at 7 p.m. only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
You want to know what's really going on in the corridors of power? Labour don't know what to do with you half the time, and that makes you quite lethal in the chamber. Get behind the headlines with Chopper's political podcast. Join me, Christopher Hope, as I sit down with the great and the good of British politics. We'll see where this ruling takes us. These are the stories shaping our nation. Chopper's Political Podcast, available now on all platforms. Listen in and stay ahead.
Mornings don't have to be tiresome, especially if you have the right company.
Wake up to news as it happens, opinion and debate, and of course, a little bit of entertainment too.
Because when the kettle's on, we're on.
That's Breakfast on GB News, a show worth waking up for.
Every morning from 6 a.m.
Only on the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
We'll spread the news, you spread the word.
Hi, I'm Michelle Dewberry, and my show is your opportunity to cut through all the noise and dive in headfirst to some robust debates. Ideas clash.
Situation, isn't it?
Because
the failure is
you're deliberately avoiding my point. Nothing's held back,
And if you think this is the end of it, wait for more.
and we do not shy away from the difficult stuff.
Sometimes I want to shake people and say, if only you understood.
So join me on Jubes and Kerr weeknights at 6 p.m. only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
5 hosts, 5 opinions, 5 fearless debates,
5 unfiltered takes on the day's news.
5 reasons not to be anywhere else on Saturday night.
This is the Saturday 5. You got me. You got me good there.
Britain's biggest Saturday night TV show.
It's not a bad brand. Yeah.
Uncensored.
Very, very racy tonight on the
Unpredictable.
What did she say? Can you translate it for us?
And always entertaining.
And how can a country go from being led by William Wallace
Saturday nights from 6 p.m. only on GB News.
The People's Channel.
Britain's news channel.
You're going to want to stay tuned, trust me.
OK, welcome back to Late Edition. Well, we're just going to round off the show with something else a bit different. The Menendez brothers, do you remember them? There was a whole Netflix series about them. Well, it was a massive case at the time. I don't remember the case itself. But they're the ones who were locked up for murdering their parents in America, I might add. Well, their story was turned into that Netflix film, a documentary. People lapped it up. Well, they're up for parole, actually. And they could be released after 30 years in prison. Just to give us a little bit more info on this, we've got true crime YouTuber Sean Atwood. Sean, thank you very much. Sorry, a bit pressed for time. Can you fill us in on the latest, please?
Yes, Patrick. So they're seeing the board today and tomorrow. If the board gives them the approval, then it goes into a 120-day review. But the government has final say. So it's not a done deal yet, but it is looking likely that they may get out. They've got a good chance.
Why? Just out of interest. I mean, is there some confusion as to whether or not they actually did kill their parents?
Well, it's not the case of whether they did or did not kill the parents. It's a case of the board is looking at the behaviour and the remorse, the behaviour in the prison system. In the California prison system, we've interviewed people. Some of the most viewed, some of the most violent stories on my channel have been from the California prison system. And for them to get through without any violent infractions is quite remarkable. They've shown remorse. You know, we've interviewed people who were inside with Saran, and Saran, he went to the board regularly because we believe he was a patsy shooter, part of an MK Ultra program. He couldn't remember. He was under some kind of hypnosis, so he could never show remorse. So if you can never show remorse, they're never going to let you out. You've got to show remorse, and the Menendez brothers have certainly done that.
And just quickly on this, is there family money that they could is waiting for them on the way out or not?
Well, the family members are lobbying for them to be released. So, you know, the family do have money. I don't know all of the logistics of it, but it's incredible that the family members are absolutely on their side and also want to get them released.
I'm not sure I'd let the one on the right out. I mean, he's a little bit mad. But hey, sure, thank you. But look, well, I'm sorry that we had to cut it short. We're squeezed for time at the end of the hour. But I'll be sure to tune into your YouTube channel. What is it?
It's just under my name, Sean Atwood, S-H-A-U-N-A-T-T Wood. And really appreciate that. And thank you for having me on, Patrick. Cheers.
All right, mate. All the best. Look after yourself. Bye-bye. Right, thank you to my wonderful panel. Thank you to everyone at home who's been watching and listening as well. Just very quickly, just a summary of tomorrow's newspaper front pages. Almost all of them are going off on the asylum seeker numbers, 111,000 in the year. We've also got the Daily Telegraph deciding to go off on the strike action potentially this summer. It looks like the London Underground is going to go on strike, and you add that to the doctors and potentially nurses as well. And the Times have gone gone for. Again, supposedly, we're expecting several protests at migrant hotels this weekend. Thank you, everyone. Thank you. Breakfast is up next if you're watching in the morning. Take care.
Expect warm spells with the odd rude interruption. Box Boilers sponsors the weather on GB News.
Good evening, I'm here with your GB News weather update from the Met Office. Now, as we go through the next 24 hours, it's a case of chasing the cloud, because where it clears overnight, it's going to turn a little chilly, and where it clears tomorrow, it's going to be quite warm in the sunshine. Currently, there is high pressure of sorts to the west of the UK. This is keeping things pretty settled. It has also brought that northerly flow down the North Sea, which has led to a bit of a chilly feel around eastern parts through today, and it's also leading to a fair bit of cloud across central and eastern parts overnight, albeit parts of East Anglia, maybe Kent, having some clear skies. Also clear skies for western parts of Scotland, Wales, maybe southwest England, and under these clear skies, temperatures could drop in rural spots to low single figures, but most places under the cloud holding up in double digits, and some milder, cloudier, perhaps even damper weather pushing across Northern Ireland later on in the night. Starting off tomorrow morning, where we get the clear skies overnight, there could be some mist and fog patches first thing, but these will quite quickly clear. Otherwise, it's a bright start for some, but quite cloudy in a few other places. Cloudy across Northern Ireland, much of Northern England, and across central and eastern parts of Scotland, quite a cloudy start. A bit brighter towards western parts of Scotland, albeit with a few showery outbreaks around the Western Isles, perhaps. Then, as we go through tomorrow, I'm expecting some of the cloud to break up, so most of us should see some bright, if not sunny spells developing. Not everywhere, though. Cloud staying quite persistent across parts of Northern Ireland and down the eastern side of Northern England, and perhaps eastern parts of Scotland too. Where the cloud does clear, though, temperatures should rise relatively nicely. We're looking at highs around 23, possibly 24 Celsius, so feeling warm, perhaps a bit warmer than today. Then, as we go into Saturday and the start of the long bank holiday weekend, there could be a few showery bursts, particularly across some western parts, but most places staying dry, and there will be some decent sunny breaks on offer as well. Perhaps more sunshine developing as we go through Sunday and into Monday, and with that, temperatures rising as well. Whatever you're up to, have a lovely evening.
Expect warm spells with the odd rude interruption. Box Boilers sponsors the weather on GB News.
There's just 2 weeks left to see how you could win your mortgage or rent paid for a whole year. That's a cash lump sum equivalent to 12 of your monthly mortgage or rent payments, right up to a whopping £20,000. Plus, we'll add an extra £5,000 on top for good measure. Make sure you don't miss out as lines close on the 29th of August. For another chance to win, text WIN to 63225. One entry costs £2.50 plus one standard network rate message, or text BONUS to 63225. 5 entries cost £5 plus one standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entry start at £2.50. Call 0903 686 3232. Calls cost £2.50 plus your network access charge. Or post your name and number to GB15 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 4 p.m. on the 29th of August. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand. Good luck.
Westminster's full of talk, but out here, it's the real world. Am I allowed to talk now? No, that's it. This is where it matters. Real people and real lives. That's what politics is all about.
In fact, has Trump made a good start? No.
Straight answers, no spin, and just a couple of pints.
How many fingers have I got up?
About 10. So join me for Lee Anderson's Real World every Friday at 7 p.m. only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
You want to know what's really going on in the corridors of power? Labour don't know what to do with you half the time, and that makes you quite lethal in the chamber. Get behind the headlines with Chopper's political podcast. Join me, Christopher Hope, as I sit down with the great and the good of British politics. We'll see where this ruling takes us. These are the stories shaping our nation. Chopper's political podcast, available now on all platforms. Listen in and stay ahead.
Good Afternoon Britain isn't just about us. The wonderful thing about this programme is it's about everyone watching. It's an interactive programme.
Well, there absolutely is something to see here, and we're going to be talking about it more. Whether it's breaking royal news, please bring us up to date, or indeed a particularly punchy speech in the House of Commons.
Very, very curious.
We bring it to you live, and then we bring you live reaction as well.
That's Good Afternoon Britain, weekdays from midday.
Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Hi, I'm Michelle Dewberry, and my show is your opportunity to cut through all the noise and dive in headfirst to some robust debates. Ideas clash.
Situation, because you're deliberately avoiding my point.
Nothing's held back.
And if you think this is the end of it, wait for more.
And we do not shy away from the difficult stuff.
Sometimes I want to shake people and say, if only you understood.
So join me on Jubes and